Hey gang, Sean here from Commander's Brew. You know us, we're that YouTube show that has lots of cool deck techs and hilarious comedy. Anyway, we got a fun deck tech to bring to you this week. It's a Dimir deck built around Nymris, Una's Trickster, flashing stuff around. Check it out.
All right, Nymris the Trickster. Honestly, Sean, this was a card that I kind of forgot about until I saw it this week in our show notes. I'm excited to see what you've done with this. Please, let's dive in.
Sure, let's just start off by reading the card. The commander is Nymris, Una's Trickster. 3 blue-black legendary fairy knight, 1/6 with flash. Always like when a commander has flash. Also flying, and here's the ability. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of those cards into your hand and the other into your graveyard. And the flavor text is, mischief is its own reward.
Okay, sorry, I'm just going over it again. I'm making sure I understand it. Cast your first spell during each opponent's turn. Top 2, you get 1. Okay, great. Okay, pretty classic.
Needless to say, let me set the scene for you. Needless to say, we definitely want to get Nymris out, and then we're going to use cheap instants or flashable spells with flash on them to trigger Nymris's ability, and then just keep things rolling. Since we're in Dimir, we also have access to a lot of cool artifact sub-themes, which we will be doing at a flash type of speed, which also interacts nicely with Nymris. And Nymris built in puts a card in our hand, puts a card in the yard. So our graveyard keeps growing as it is anyway. So we're also going to take advantage of that. We've got a lot of cool stuff going on. So I think we've set the scene. Let's read some of the vegetables, some of the basics of the deck. I'm talking easy instants that we're going to cast on our opponent's turn. The cheaper, the better, so that we can keep Nymris going. We can keep our hand restocked. Andy, why don't you take these first vegetables?
Sure. First up is Brainstorm. A bit of a classic here. Single blue mana for the instant. Draw 3, then put 2 cards from your hand on top of your library in any order. This is obviously traditionally paired with a way to shuffle your deck, because otherwise you're just setting yourself up for like those draws that you know are coming. Nymris has the ability, obviously, to like draw 1, graveyard 1. So like I feel like this card gets a little better even without a shuffle effect. Obviously, you can also load up on that if you're wanting to do that. But we know what we're drawing. We get that next trigger going, right? In Nymris, that's nice. Next is Rewind. 2 blue for an instant. It's counter target spell. Untap up to 4 lands. I mean, this is sweet because this is one of my favorite counter spells in Commander, because there's always that thing of like I want to counter something, but then like my other thing I can't do, like especially if you're like an instant speed base deck. So Rewind obviously allows you to get the best of both worlds, and then you just have a nice little cantrip like Opt, single blue for the instant, scry 1, and draw a card. I love Opt as like our version of Ponder and Preordain and all that kind of stuff at instant speed. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, Ponder and Preordain being sorceries, we really don't have room for those types of cards in here. We don't care about that.
Gotta be instant.
It's nice. Like Opt's a nickel.
Yeah.
Whereas those cards are a couple bucks or more. So totally. I love it. Right, and so you can see what we're doing here, right? We're a bit of a draw go deck. We're holding things up, and of course, every time we cast an Opt, for example, we're going to draw 1 card, and we're putting another card in our hand and another card in the graveyard. Having things like Delve, like Flashback, like Jumpstart, these are only going to help the deck. And in fact, when we look at 2 cards, we're going to be incentivized to put the Flashback cards or the Jumpstart cards directly into the graveyard, draw the other of the 2, and that just becomes more of our hand. So I'm talking about cards. Oops, I forgot to put these ones in the little tabs here to show. But I'll just name them real quick. They're very famous cards. I'm talking Murderous Cut, which is the 5 mana delve, destroy target creature at instant speed, 4 and a black, but we get to pay just black if we have enough cards to delve, and we probably do. Think Twice is a classic, draw 1 card with flashback on it, so we can cast that from our graveyard. And then Glimpse of Freedom was a newer one. It's 1 and a blue, but it also has escape, so we can keep exiling cards out of our graveyard to cast it again. And when we do on an opponent's turn, we will put the card we drew off a Glimpse, we'll choose another card, and another card will go into the graveyard to help us further escape Glimpse if we want to. I'll tell you right now, in the testing, you usually want to leave the cards that do that until the end. Murderous Cut's different because sometimes you just got to deal with a creature, so you have to destroy it. But if I have a choice between a jumpstart draw card or an escape draw card, I'm going to take the one in my hand and just leave that in my graveyard, because we do eventually care about sorceries in the graveyard. We want that available. It's better to have a stocked graveyard if possible, if it makes sense. So there you have it. There's sort of the general kind of like theme of things, right? And all these ways are ways we're going to keep our hand fully stocked. We're going to be digging for the stuff we want to dig to. We're going to have our graveyard filling up. So now that you're kind of in the right mindset, let's get to our neat moves.
Working on a
Neat moves. We're just going to take a second to handle a little bit of business. And the main point is, thanks for watching. If you want to see more of our comedic takes and offbeat decks, consider subscribing to our channel and hitting that bell to make sure you don't miss anything. And if you're loving our stuff and want to support further, the best way is to head over to patreon.com/commandersbrew. Find out how our generous patrons keep our show growing and how you can get in on the brewing action too through our Discord. Or, if you'd rather, just hang out and play some games with like-minded Commander players. Now, let's get back to those neat moves.
All right, so like you said, we're heavily like a draw go style of deck here, right? So we're doing stuff on our opponent's turns, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what Nymris asks us to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that kind of sets up this first one here.
Yeah, this is Widewind the Biting Gale, 2 blue-black, legendary fairy wizard, 3/3 with flash. So we can cast Widewind to maybe ambush a small attacker that think they can just get in. Widewind has flying, but also black-blue, pay 1 life, return Widewind the Biting Gale to its owner's hand. So in an emergency, we can recast Widewind on future opponents' turns to get extra triggers off Nymris if we somehow run out of draw spells or run out of other instants.
Flash is just a nice ability to have in this deck, obviously. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's like 6 mana for the whole thing, but if you can get a creature out of that, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
This is one that I recently added into. Do you remember the Etrata deck you made? We made each other's decks in real life. You took one of mine, I took one of yours. That's the one I took, and I just recently played that deck again, and it did very well. And I just added this card, Zareth Sand, the Trickster, to it. 3 blue, black, another flash creature here, a 4/4, legendary Merfolk Rogue. Pay 2 blue, black, return an unblocked attacking rogue you control to its owner's hand, and you can put Zareth Sand from your hand onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. And then whenever Zareth Sand deals combat damage to a player, you may put target permanent card from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Very important that we remember that is a permanent card. I already am surprised by that because I just assumed it was creature. Like, I know that it does that ability, but I just assumed it was creature. So the fact that it's a permanent is incredible. That means like you don't need to have a dedicated like mill strategy. Like, people are gonna have permanents, and like worst case scenario, it's like a land, I guess, but that's not terrible. Like, you still ramped, you know.
Yeah, and we probably aren't going to cast this with the sort of like ninjutsu-esque ability, because we won't trigger Nymris. We're hoping the plan for Zareth Sand is like, Zareth Sand's in my hand, it's coming around to my turn. If an opponent has an opening, like where we can get a free attack or an attack where we don't have to worry about losing Zareth Sand, that's a great time to flash him in, get that Nymris trigger. If not, maybe I'll cast a draw spell. Maybe I'll flash back my Think twice. Maybe I'll just wait for the right moment.
It's funny because that ability, that's a good ability, and if you are taking advantage of it in a deck, it's obviously good. But you kind of don't need to, because Zerasan having flash means that he just pops in at the end of turn, before you start anyways, and has this like kind of like pseudo haste type thing going on that flash creatures just kind of get. So it's great. It just doesn't even need to. And
well, the best play with Zerasan is holding up mana, and someone casts a Wrath, and they look at you, the blue player, and like, are you going to counter it? And you're like, no, I am not. And then all the creatures die, and they're like, and now Zerasan comes out to play, and I just have my choice of all these full graveyards.
So good. Also in this vein, we have Lochmere Serpent, 4 blue-black for Serpent, 7/7, has flash, 6 mana, 7/7 flash, not bad. Also has the abilities of blue, sack an island. Lochmere Serpent can't be blocked this turn. Black, sack a swamp. You gain 1 life and draw a card. And then blue-black, exile 5 target cards from an opponent's graveyard. Return Lochmere Serpent from your graveyard to your hand. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. I mean, a nice late game play either way you look at this, whether it's to activate those abilities or not, sacrificing islands and swamps and stuff like that. If you need it, it's great. But otherwise, I mean, I just love a 7/7 that we can make unblockable.
Well, the beauty of Lochmere Serpent is that it works from the graveyard.
Yeah.
So, like, if we get this early off of Nymris, we're like, you know what? It's too early. You're going to the graveyard, Lochmere Serpent. I'll get you later.
You know what I love about it too? It's the way it's worded. It feels different. It's like exile 5 target cards from an opponent's graveyard. For some reason, that reads to me like exile 5 cards from your graveyard, and then you can put this back in your hand. It reads like, do me a favor, would you exile 5 of those cards so I can do this to my creature? Like, there's something about it. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
I feel that way. But yeah, I like that. That recurability is quite nice.
Yeah, great. And so, since we're heavy on instants, of course we're going to run Talran Sky Summoner. 2 blue, Merfolk Wizard, 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, create a 2/2 blue Flying Drake token. This is Nymris's whole thing. We're hoping to do those things. Like, often we're going to do 1 on our opponent's turn, but at the end of our opponent before us, we're like, you know what? I think I'm going to just dump all my instants, all my cheap instants. I'm going to dump them out, turn them all into drakes, and just have a massive air force coming at you next turn. For the same reason, we're running Docent of Perfection for redundancy. This is 3 blue for a 5/4 with flying. Whenever you cast instants or sorceries, you get a little 1/1 blue human wizard creature token. And then if you have 3 or more wizards after that trigger goes off, it turns into Final Iteration. It becomes a 6/5 flyer and turns all your wizards +2/+1 and give them flying. It effectively turns all your little 1/1 blue human wizards, effectively turns them into Delver of Secretses that have transformed. So they're all 3/2 flyers now, and it continues to make 1/1 blue humans, which are in actuality 3/1 flying creatures.
3/2, 3/2s.
3/2. I'm sorry, even better.
Yeah. I often forget about this card when I'm thinking of cast triggers from instants and sorceries. For some reason, this card doesn't stick in my head the way that Talrand and the other one does. There's like a 1/4.
Young Pyromance? Oh, no. That's the wall. The one makes illusions.
You know what? I'm so stupid. I had the name in my head literally like 5 seconds ago. Now it's gone. But it,
Mystic Wall? No.
Mystic something. Anyways, yeah. It's like from War of the Spark or a core set. Anyways, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a 1/4 that makes flying illusions, I think, when you cast
Murmuring Mystic.
Thank you. That's the one that, for some reason, I don't think of Dose of Perfection the same way. For some reason, this one sticks in my head. Obviously, the name doesn't, but it's a 1/5. That puts bird illusions out. Anyways,
I know the difference between 3 and 4 between 4 and 5 mana is fairly significant, but you're getting so much out of Docent of Perfection.
No, I would rather have the Docent of Perfection.
I think so too.
Even though it's 5 mana, I don't care. It's making those 3/2s. It's wild.
Yeah.
Okay, what do we have next here? Oh, okay. So we're heavy on instants. So Rise from the Tides is an excellent card in any deck like this. If we got a lot of instants, a lot of sorceries, Rise from the Tides is going to pay you off big time if you can cast it. 5 and a blue for a sorcery. Create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token for each instant and sorcery in your graveyard. Obviously, this works not only because we're casting a lot of instants and sorceries, but because we're also dumping them in our graveyard with what's her face, the commander of this deck, Nymris. Sorry. Yeah. So I love Rise from the Tides. A lot of times it's the reason that the Epic Experiment deck wins, which, that has a soft spot. Sean and I both have a soft spot in our hearts for that deck, so it's nice to see it pop up here and be really, really good.
Yeah, so between Docent, between Talrand, between Rise from the Tides, it's a bit of a token deck going on. This is kind of how we're going to overwhelm our opponents while we're just kind of making things happen. And since our yard gets so full, we're running Empty the Pits. XX, black, 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 black. Instant. Delve. Put X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield tapped. It is an instant, so we get to do it at the end of an opponent's turn. So the fact that they come in tapped is largely irrelevant. We just don't get to ambush as a huge blocking army. But I honestly, what do you got? 30 cards in the graveyard. That's 15 zombies as long as you got 4 black. Maybe a few more if you want to put mana into the XX. 15 zombies is a lot.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's rare that you see a deck that's stocking up their graveyard just to exile it. You know what I mean? That's a rare thing, but it is. I always think back to our Unearth deck that we made ages ago, and that if you use it as a strategy though, it's very good. Sometimes you just need an Empty the Pits just wins you the game. Who cares if your graveyard's gone? You stocked it
exactly
on purpose for this purpose, right?
Well, and even if you're just I don't know if this will give me the win, but there's plenty of stuff in my graveyard that I can't use anymore. I mean, obviously you're going to start with the lands, but and if you don't care about what we just talked about, the Rise from the Tides, kill some instants or sorceries that don't have flashback. You can still end up with quite a few zombies and leave some juicy spells in there.
And hey, if you delve your whole graveyard away with an Empty the Pits, and you got a counter spell, just don't delve all your mana. You know what I mean? Keep up the blue, keep up the blue, just in case, right? Obviously, you don't need to be told that. Everyone knows to do that sort of thing. But that's what we're talking about. So, anyways, let's.
If you've held up the mana too, and someone drops a Bojuka Bog or tries to kill all your graveyards, it's well, you know what? In response, I'll just turn it into a ton of zombies. Cool.
Exactly. There you go. Cool. Speaking of protecting our stuff, we're going to need to do that, and sometimes you're going to need to actually get digging for something like a counter spell, like some other kind of protection. So Mystical Teachings, nice card here for this exact purpose. 3 and a blue, the instant. First, search your library for an instant card or a card with flash, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. Also has flashback for 5 and a black. Easily an underrated card here. The instant speed is what makes this better than a regular 4-mana tutor. Look, we like 4-mana tutors just fine on this show. I find them to be, when you're in a deck that really needs a specific card or a specific combination of cards, I still think it's totally fine. This is even better. The instant speed nature of this means that, like we've been saying, you're casting other things when you need to, you're holding things up as you need. And then if you have the time to go grab your good counter spell, because you're getting to that point where you're gonna empty the pits and you want to protect that that board that you've created, this is perfect for it. So and it works from the graveyard also, which is incredible.
Incredible. And so earlier I mentioned there's an artifact kind of crossover in the Dimir colors. There's lots of good artifact support in there. We haven't talked about any of them yet, but the main centering around it is with Shimmer Mirror. 3 generic for a 2/2 artifact creature mirror with flash. You may cast artifact spells as though they had flash, which will trigger Nymris's ability. Nymris doesn't care how we got there. Nymris is just looking for casting the first spell on our opponent's turns. So imagine we've got Shimmer Mirror out. That's the best part of it. Then we can lean into things like Scrap Trawler. 3 generic for an artifact creature construct. 3/2. Whenever Scrap Trawler or another artifact you control is put to a graveyard, return to your hand target artifact card in your graveyard with lesser converted mana cost. I didn't get into it in the vegetables, but we've got a lot of little artifacts that tutor up basic lands. We've got a lot of little mana rocks that we can trade in for cards, like your Mind Stones, your Commander Spheres. Those begin to trade back for themselves. And with Shimmermere, we can just cast them. We can cast those on our opponent's turns and look for more cards with them. Or maybe we put them into the graveyard with Nymris because we know Scrap Trawler is going to pull them back into our hands in a few moments from now, in a few turns from now. So like lots of fun stuff going on. Mischief is its own reward. There's lots of things to consider with this.
That's like Commander the game's like motto.
Basically, right?
Is its own reward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, check out this little combination. We've got Stinging Lionfish, 1 and a blue for the enchantment creature fish. It's a 2/1. Whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn, you may tap or untap target non-land permanent. So that already looking like it's going to be something we can do. And then Dreamstone Hedron, the 6 mana artifact that taps for 3 colorless, and then you can also pay 3, tap it to sack it and draw 3 cards. I mean, you're talking about generating mana on your opponent's turns. This is an incredible way to do that. Casting a 1 mana cantrip, 2 mana cantrip, whatever, untapping Dreamstone Hedron, you're still ready to drop like a Widwin, right? Or like one of the creatures, maybe even the maybe that's how you do the Shimmermere itself. So really, really great stuff. Also the ability to like tap Dreamstone Hedron, untap it, use the 3 mana you made with it to tap itself, sack it, and get the 3 cards is also a real possibility with that.
That is, I'll tell you from experience, that is very satisfying. That is a very satisfying line to tap Dreamstone for its own mana to sack itself.
Really great.
And then add so keep that in mind, and now add this card to it.
Emry, Lurker of the Loch, 2 and a blue for the 1/2 legendary Merfolk Wizard. It costs 1 less to cast for each artifact you control, so often 1 blue. And then when Emry enters the battlefield, you mill the top 4, and then you can tap Emry and choose target artifact card in your graveyard, and you may cast that card this turn. So Dreamstone Hedron not only tapping for its own activated ability now, you can also, depending on what your situation is like with the Lionfish, you can tap it to then recast it from the graveyard, which is incredible. That's wild.
Yeah, as long as you have so Emry gives us permission to cast things from the graveyard, but we still have to obey timing restrictions.
Right. Yeah.
But as long as we have Shimmermere, the game allows us to cast artifacts on our opponent's turn with Emry from the graveyard, triggering Nymris' ability, putting more stuff in the graveyard, keeping it rolling. This card is the perfect blend of both of the angles this deck is going on. And then I just want to throw this in. This is one of my faves. I guess I forgot about it for a while, but it's been creeping into more brews because I just love it. Epiphany at the Drown Yard. X blue instant. Reveal the top X +1 cards of your library. Separate them into 2 piles. So I, as the caster, it's my deck, I choose how these 2 piles get divided, and my opponent chooses one of the piles to give to me, and the other pile goes into my graveyard. But here's the thing. It's very often where you're just like, you know what? Most of the stuff is great in my graveyard because of what I got going on. So I'm going to put like 2 pretty good spells in one pile and like 7 cards with like a bunch of flashback stuff in the other pile. And your opponents are like, well, I don't know, man. Either I give you the 2 pretty good spells and put all this good stuff in your graveyard, or I just give you the whole thing and put 2 things in your graveyard. I don't know. Like it, I've never done it, but one day I want to make one pile nothing and just be like, what do you want to do? Do you want to just put a ton in my graveyard? Which is probably the right move. But
that's gotta be the right move. But you're right. It's interesting when it doesn't really matter, and there are even times when that is what you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
So this deck, I mean, to take the flavor text, Mischief is his own reward. There's a lot of fun stuff going on, a lot of fun decisions, a lot of like everything you see with Nymris, you just get to evaluate. It's like based on what's in my hand, based on my board, do I need more artifacts right now because that part of my deck is humming? Or do I want to lean more on the instance? Do I need more engine pieces? It's really fun to play. There's tons it really feels like you're doing so much with this deck, which is a good feeling.
I love decks like that. It's
right.
Fun. They are a lot of fun. I mean, it's sometimes like if you're comboing super hard, it's like, you know, it doesn't feel as interactive as other decks sometimes. But those can still be a lot of fun to pilot. In fact, those are the most fun to just. They're only fun to pilot. They're not necessarily super fun to play against, but I like the fair amount of interaction we have in this deck, and I think this is a great brew. This is a one that I definitely have a lot of fun playing.
Nice. And I couldn't have done it without the help of our Discord. My original idea was to kind of focus more on zombie tokens. We can still see some zombie token influence in there, but I wanted to do something different, and I thought because the graveyard would be so important that we could lean on zombie tokens, but I just couldn't pull it together. But at the last minute, you know, some of the suggestions came in. We really pivoted into more artifact stuff, and I think the deck is so much better for it. So thank you to everyone who helped in the Discord, including Nosrak2, Chiefy, Papadio, Pips Don't Lie, Nasty Booper, Mr. Big Bents, Demir Buffalo, Dunking Dutchman, Ninja Mayor of Pirate Town, Seth, HP Jones 10, and first brew in the Discord with us, Reclusive Artificer. Welcome. Great to have you. We got a great team. Couldn't have done it without you.
Always a ton of fun in there. Always a ton of fun brewing with the gang. Well,
Madisman, did I mention you? No, Madisman also.
You did not.
If I ever forget someone, honestly, I get mild anxiety that I will accidentally leave a name out, and that person's feelings will be hurt.
I know.
And it will. My greatest fear is that someone will be mad. Like I will upset someone in an unnecessary way. So if I did forget, truly sorry. I will get you next time. I can't possibly miss you every time.
There's one guy who you just keep forgetting, and he's just like, "What about me?"
Yeah. And in their head, they've considered as like, "Well, Sean obviously hates me."
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would be like. Anyways, but no, you're very good at this. You definitely always find more. Like I always search back through, and it's like I almost feel like I should take stock at the time, but I'm too busy brewing at the time. Anyways, we've talked about the Discord helpers and the incredible work that they do, and how incredibly lucky we are to have them around, and it's really great. That means it is now time for the budget report. All right, John, talk to us about this deck's budget.
This deck's cheap. The TCG mid came in at like $89 and the low is under $50, and that's because we just have so many instants and draw spells and little things like that a lot of decks don't care about, and most of the money comes from stuff that's quite frankly cuttable. Most expensive card is actually Silas Wren, Secret Adept, 1 blue-black legendary artificer creature human 2/2 with Death Touch, and whenever Silas deals combat damage to a player, you choose an artifact card in your graveyard, you may cast it this turn. I mean, this deck doesn't care that much about casting artifacts on our own turn. We would like to get them back from the graveyard, but honestly, this is an ability we could do without. We draw so much in this deck. We get cards back so much. It's not crucial. So cut it. Save yourself $7.
I love it. Next one is Talisman of Dominance. It's the 2 mana rock. It's the artifact. You tap it for colorless, or you can tap it for blue or black, and it deals the damage to you. The talisman are, I think, kind of woefully underplayed, but part of the reason for that is that like this cycle of them is kind of getting expensive, because I think people are catching on to them more, and like they haven't been printed a ton. I think Secret Packs gave us some printings or something.
No, it was one of the Modern Masters gave us the other cycle of it.
Yes, it was Modern.
This is from the first cycle back from Mirrodin.
Modern Horizons did it.
Modern Horizons, thank you. This was back from the first cycle from Mirrodin, so we only have the I guess are these the enemy color pairs? I can never remember.
These are the allied.
The allied color pairs. So we got the other 5 not that long ago. But unfortunately, like Commander players, just as a whole, we want our mana rocks at 2 now. 3 cost mana rocks don't cut it. And this one's $6.50, $7, depending where you go.
Yeah, it's crazy. This only got a reprint in the Arch Enemy deck, the Nicol Bolas Arch Enemy thing, whatever that is, which is like the set of like in the playoff. It's like a 4 deck thing. Anyways, these haven't been reprinted. These are a good, like, I would say if anyone from Wizards is listening or watching, these are a great. These are a great candidate for reprints. We love getting reprints of obviously stuff like Arcane Signets and Soul Rings and all that. I'm not saying don't reprint those, but hey, next Commander go around, maybe let's take a look at the talismans, especially the ones the ally colored ones.
Yeah,
I would suggest that.
And then the next most expensive card coming in at $5 is Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. This card is from War of the Spark. It's the 1 blue Jace. If you would draw a card while your library is empty, you win the game instead of lose the game. +1, target player mills 2, and you draw a card. -8, draw 7 cards and win the game if your library is empty after that. I mean, this card was added because like we burn through cards a lot quite quickly, and it's very possible to get to the end of our deck. So like this gives us the ability to turn on the gas and like actually go for it. Needless to say, coming in at about the same price is Lab Maniac. These 2 cards are rarely seen without the other one. So, but I mean, if you want to save almost $10, don't worry about it. Just throw in an Elixir of Immortality or just shuffle your graveyard back in if you're worried about it. Like,
yeah,
no
take
big.
that angle instead of ending the game. Just keep it going.
Yeah,
I love it.
oh man.
Yeah, great stuff.
I didn't put anything on because I didn't think of it at a time. But if you don't have any budget, this card is getting really expensive. Mind's Dilation is getting real expensive.
It is. Yeah, it is, and it's such a good card.
It's great generically, which is why it's up to like $7. But in this case, you like on other opponents' turn when they cast their first spell, you could cast a spell off of their cast from their deck, which triggers Nymris. So like it's just perfect for what Nymris is doing. You don't even have to spend your own resources on it.
That's awesome. That's great. That works. That's just good. That's a good heads up for any kind of synergy. There's a lot of cards that there's a lot of like commander strategies that like want to be casting spells on opponents' upkeep, or not upkeep, but on their turns. Same thing. And this is that's a great way to keep it rolling. Keep it going. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, I guess, right?
It is. That's it. The only thing left is to put on our tuxedos, put a little gel in our hairs, and get ready for the limo.
Yeah, because we are definitely heading over to those Odric Awards. Oh, yes. Wonderful to be here tonight. I see the man. I see there he is, Nicol Bolas, looking good. You've done something. Have you changed something on is it your hair? I feel like
I believe Nicol Bolas's egg is Swarovski crystal this evening.
Oh, lovely. So because I know you did lose the egg. That's right. So it's wonderful crystals, though, Nicol. Wonderful nickels. Wonderful nickels. Many nickels to buy that crystal, I'm sure.
And great to see you in the audience, Natalie Portman.
There she is.
Great. Yes.
There she is. And looking as sharp as ever. And, how did you like the list of hammers? Because that was, you're going to be in the new Thor movie, of course. Everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. In any case, we have an award to present. And it is our greatest honor to present the award, the Odric Award for Why Haven't You Gotten That Looked At Yet award. And the award for Why Haven't You Gotten It Looked At Yet goes to Chronic Flooding. 1 in a blue, enchanted land. When enchanted land becomes tapped, its controller mills 3. If it's Chronic Flooding, why haven't you looked at it yet? Congratulations for winning the Odric.
Big congrats to this guy in the middle of this card who is just looking off in the distance, not knowing what to do at all. Call a plumber. How about that?
Flood me once, fool on me, flood me twice.
Shame on
everybody.
Shame on you. You're not going to flood me again. Okay.
Flood in, flood again.
Well, that will do it for tonight. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thanks for everyone for sticking with us all the way through to the Audrix. We know we always go 2 hours over time, but that's just how things work. We'll be back next week with another brand new deck tech. Please come back, check us out then. Until then, we will see you later. Goodbye.
Get home safe, everybody.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too. And for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.